Charlie Kirk case investigation is viral again after the recent Joe Rogan podcast. And here's what nobody's talking about. Joe Rogan and Candace Owens just exposed something the media is trying to bury. Erika Kirk's reaction right after her husband was it doesn't make sense. And now, the people asking questions are being silenced. The official story has more holes than Swiss cheese, and what you're about to hear will make you question everything.
I want to say one more thing rather explosively. 3 people told me off record. 2 people who have this in a written communication from Charlie.
I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird shit going on with this.
I know.
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place.
Look, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just here to show you what's being hidden. On September 10th, 2025, conservative activist Charlie Kirk was killed while speaking at Utah Valley University. They arrested a 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson. Case closed, right? Wrong, because Candace Owens just dropped a bombshell that changes everything. She revealed that Charlie Kirk told people the day before he died that he thought they were going to kill him. And Joe Rogan, he's tearing apart the official story piece by piece, from the weapon used to whether this kid even had the skills to pull off the shot. Here's what you're going to discover in this video: the massive inconsistencies that investigators are ignoring, the suspicious behavior of people close to Charlie, and why some of the smartest people in media think this whole thing was planned. Stick with me, because this gets wild. Before we dive into the conspiracy, let me give you the basics. If you don't know who Charlie Kirk was, here's the quick version. Charlie Kirk was a conservative political activist who founded Turning Point USA. He was famous for going to college campuses and debating students about politics, immigration, and all the hot-button issues. He was a massive Trump supporter. And honestly, the guy dedicated his entire life to politics. He was only 31 years old when he was killed. 31, that's young. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so a guy got arrested. What's the big deal? Here's the big deal. Charlie Kirk wasn't just any political figure. This guy had serious enemies. People hated him. And the circumstances around his death, they're raising way more questions than answers. People who were close to Charlie are now coming forward and saying things that make your skin crawl. And that's where things get interesting.
The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad.
All right, let's get into the heavy stuff. Candace Owens just went on her podcast and said something that should be front page news everywhere. But surprise, surprise, the mainstream media is pretending like she never said it. Candace revealed that 3 different people told her, off the record, that Charlie Kirk knew he was going to be killed. Not just had a bad feeling. No, Charlie straight up told people the day before he died, "I think they're going to kill me." Let me say that again. The day before Charlie Kirk was shot, he told people he thought they were coming for him. 2 of these people have this conversation in writing. Written communication from Charlie himself. One of them is even a major donor to Turning Point USA. These aren't random conspiracy theorists on the internet. These are people in Charlie's inner circle. Candace said, "I'm telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I'm saying this because I hope that these people, who I think are good, will be inspired to come forward." Now, Candace was careful. She said these conversations were off the record, and she's honoring that. But she's basically begging these witnesses to go public. She wants them to tell the world who Charlie thought was going to kill him. Can you imagine living with that knowledge? Knowing someone told you they were about to be murdered, and then it actually happens? That's haunting.
The very day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, "I think they're going to kill me." Okay? He did not express that to me, so I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I am saying this because I hope that these people, who I think are good, will be inspired to come forward with that. Now, again, those conversations I had were off record. I honor that. If I say it's off record, it stays off record. But I'm hoping that watching what I am doing and feeling the energy that is rising across the world for people who want to know what the heck happened on 9/10, that, they will be brave and they will say, yeah, Charlie did the day before he died think that he was going to be killed, and maybe tell us Who is they? Well, for once and for all, who is they? Who is the they that he thought were going to kill him?
But it gets even crazier. Candace then said something that shocked everyone. She admitted that this whole situation made her lose faith in politics. She lost faith in Trump. She said, "My heart aches for the fact that Charlie gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics." And they just were like, "Nope, that is it. It serves us or doesn't serve us, and we want to move on. And so here's a holiday, bro." Wait, what? A holiday?
Candace went off about this pattern she's noticed. She said, "What is with them giving people a holiday after they kill them? Why is that a thing? Like, oh, Martin Luther King, what about this holiday? What about this boulevard? They're gonna give Charlie Kirk a boulevard? They already did. They did it in Israel." She continued, "It's like, as soon as they give you a boulevard and a holiday, they definitely killed you. There's no question they killed you. It's their signature thing. It's the Fed signature. It's how they sign off after they murder you." I don't know about you, but when someone starts connecting dots like that, I pay attention. Candace isn't some random person making stuff up. She knew Charlie personally, and she's putting her reputation on the line by saying this stuff out loud.
Okay, let me read between the lines. Did Candace Owens insinuated, saying it out loud, that President Trump is behind Charlie Kirk's?
And really process everything that happened with Charlie and what it kind of means in terms of where we are. And I think it is a circumstance where we just know. We just know that he was truly betrayed in one of the most egregious ways that I think I've ever seen. It has made me lose faith in politics. It has made me fully lose faith in Trump.
Okay, now let's talk about the murder weapon, because this is where the official story completely falls apart. Candace Owens did her homework. She dug into the forensic evidence, and what she found is absolutely damning. She said, 100% Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit. At least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck, right around here. She pointed to the area near the spine, in line with the shoulder blade. So why does this matter? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory. We know where the bullet entered, and we know where it stopped. That tells us the angle of the shot and the type of weapon that was used. And here's the kicker. Candace said, they did not recover a bullet from a .30-06. They didn't recover a bullet from a .30-06. Just didn't happen, okay?
100% Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit, and at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was recovered from. I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week.
For those of you who don't know guns, a .30-06 is the type of rifle the suspect supposedly used. It was allegedly his grandfather's rifle from World War I. But if the bullet they recovered doesn't match a .30-06, then what gun was used? And more importantly, who really shot Charlie Kirk? Think about it. The entire case against this 22-year-old kid is based on the idea that he used his grandfather's old rifle. But if the forensic evidence shows the bullet didn't come from that gun, then the whole story is a lie. Candace has been sitting on this information for over a week. She fact-checked it with multiple sources before going public. This isn't speculation, this is evidence. And yet, the mainstream media isn't talking about it. Why? Because it destroys their narrative.
Now let's bring in Joe Rogan, because this is where things get really interesting.
Joe is known for asking questions that make people uncomfortable. And when it comes to the Charlie Kirk case, he's not buying the official story for 1 second. Joe starts by talking about this bizarre character who showed up at the scene. He said, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out, didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. Yes, you heard that right. There was an older man at the scene who, the moment Charlie got shot, started yelling, I did it, and then pulled his pants down. Who does that? But here's where it gets weirder. Joe said, this guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombing. He's called in a fake bomb at another place, and then he did this at this thing right after. So this random guy just happens to be at every major tragedy in recent American history? What are the odds of that? Joe said, like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT perplexity things, like what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved? Like 0. And then, right after this incident, the guy gets arrested for child charges, immediately. Now he can't be interviewed because he's in jail. Joe said, well, now you can't interview him, right? He's got, right. Convenient, isn't it? This guy shows up, causes a distraction, and then disappears into the legal system where nobody can ask him questions. That's not suspicious at all. But Joe wasn't done. He then completely destroyed the story about the rifle. Officials are claiming that this 22-year-old kid disassembled his grandfather's World War I rifle, fitted into a backpack, climbed onto a roof, reassembled the rifle, and then made a perfect shot. Joe's response? Shut the F up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled? To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack, and by the way, not going to fit, and then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? Joe knows guns. He's an experienced shooter, and he's telling you that this story is impossible. He said, "This story is horseshit. None of these things make any sense to me." Joe then broke down the security failures. He said, "Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane." And you know what? He's right. The security failures at this event were so obvious that they can't be accidental. Either the security team was completely incompetent or they were told to stand down. Joe even addressed whether this kid could make the shot. He said, 200 yards from a prone position with a dead-on rifle. If you have a dead-on rifle, so you set this rifle, you set your 0 to 200 yards, right? You know how far you're going to shoot. It's not hard at all. But then he clarified, 100%. Not if they've never shot, they wouldn't know where to look. They'd have a hard time acquiring. When you look through a scope, like the reticle is weird. So yes, an experienced shooter could make that shot, but a 22-year-old with no training, and after disassembling and reassembling a rifle under pressure, not a chance.
Here's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit. Not going to fit.
In a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? This story is horseshit. Like,
Yeah.
none of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane.
Joe finished by saying, "I feel like he's a plant. His mom's got a weird Facebook. It's very trippy. It doesn't make any sense. Like, the more they keep looking into it, the more they're like, this doesn't feel like a real, it feels super fabricated." Here's where Joe Rogan drops some serious knowledge about how information warfare actually works in 2025. Joe said, "Just like I was talking about, when people are arguing on social media, it's all part of the plan. If you want people to lose all faith that anyone is going to solve anything, you add a bunch, you're gonna kill a guy. You add a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time."
So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof, he jumps down 14 feet.
Yeah, we saw didn't they have video of him jump? Somebody had a cell phone video of him jumping.
There's
down,
a video
right?
of him jumping. So this guy, whoever it is, jumps off of the roof and lands, whether or not he's even the guy who shot him. Maybe he thought he was going to shoot him. Maybe he's a patsy. Maybe he did it.
I feel like he's a plant. Did you see the video? Did you see the person doing the investigating on his mom's Facebook?
No.
You haven't seen this? Have you seen that, Jamie? Some dude online.
His mom's got a weird Facebook. I
It's
spill coffee.
very trippy.
Think about what he's saying. The goal isn't to create a perfect cover-up. The goal is to make the truth impossible to prove. You flood the zone with contradictions, weird details, and confusing evidence so that people give up trying to figure it out.
Joe continued, "You leave a gun that didn't do it right out in the woods. You do a bunch of shit like that. You have an old man put his dick out and yell, 'I did it, I did it, I did it.' It's genius in a twisted way. You don't hide the truth, you bury it under so much garbage that nobody can find it. And that's exactly what we're seeing with the Charlie Kirk case. Every time someone tries to investigate, there's another weird detail that doesn't fit. The decoy shouting confessions, the rifle that doesn't match the bullet, the security failures that make no sense. It's death by 1,000 distractions." Now, not everyone agrees with Candace Owens. In fact, Joe Rogan himself pushed back on some of her claims back before this incident they did podcast. And honestly, that's a good thing. We need people asking tough questions on all sides. During their conversation, Joe challenged Candace about making big claims without having all the evidence. He said, "You don't have to have a formed opinion on everything. What you do have to have is the ability to know when you don't know what the you're talking about."
That's what I hate.
But hold
Because
on,
then
let
it's
me
like,
finish
Candace,
what
you
I'm
have
saying.
to have a formed opinion on everything.
No, you don't have to have a formed opinion
Yeah.
on everything. What you do have to have is the ability to know when you don't know what the you're talking
But
about.
I just said that. I said
But
that to
you
you the
didn't.
entire
But you
time.
said
I
you
said
don't
this
believe
would.
it.
I said I
you
don't
don't
believe it. And
believe
then you
it.
asked me, and I said this wouldn't be the hill I chose to die on because I don't.
Right,
I don't
but why
follow
even
it.
say you don't believe it?
Ouch, that's a fair point. Just because something seems suspicious doesn't mean we should jump to conclusions. Candace defended herself by saying, "I said that to you the entire time. I said I don't believe it. And you asked me, and I said this wouldn't be the hill I chose to die on because I don't believe it. Joe responded, but why did you say you don't believe in it? How about not have a belief until you really... And that's when Candace clarified, okay, so you would prefer if my language, as opposed to admitting that I do not know this, I wouldn't die on this hill. I've never made a video, I've never made a public statement. You would have preferred if I had just started by saying, I don't know. I have no opinion. Look, this is an important moment, because Joe is right that big claims need big evidence. But Candace is also right that the inconsistencies can't just be ignored. The problem is we're stuck in this weird middle ground where something clearly doesn't add up, but we don't have enough hard proof to say exactly what happened. Candace is relying on off-the-record sources she can't name. Joe wants people to wait for facts before jumping to conclusions. Both positions make sense. But here's my take. When the official story has this many holes, and when people close to the victim are saying he knew he was about to be killed, we have a responsibility to keep asking questions. And speaking of questions, let's talk about how the media handled this story. Because if you thought they would approach this with sensitivity and objectivity, boy, oh boy, were you wrong. MSNBC, in their infinite wisdom, decided to suggest that maybe Charlie Kirk was accidentally killed by one of his own supporters. Yes, you heard that right. During their coverage, an MSNBC host said, "We don't know any of the full details of this. We don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration."
Something like this happens.
You can put the headphones on, you can hear
Yeah, and again, emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about.
That's what the crazy thing was.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, if it was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration.
What? Someone shot their gun off in celebration and killed him.
You shoot celebration guns in the air.
A supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, at a political rally, on a college campus. Joe Rogan's reaction was perfect. He said, "What a crazy take. Like, it might not have been someone assassinating someone for the wrong opinion." The host continued, "We don't know if it was a supporter shooting off a gun in celebration, because you know they do. A lot of folks are just constantly out there shooting off guns at large gatherings in celebration." Joe responded, 4th of July, you can't leave your house. You know what the f***? No, that's a wow. Think about what MSNBC was trying to do here. Even in death, they couldn't resist trying to make Charlie Kirk and his supporters look bad. They were literally suggesting that conservatives are so reckless and stupid that they accidentally shot their own hero while celebrating. It's disgusting, and it shows you exactly how desperate the narrative controllers are to shape this story into something it's not. All right, let's wrap this up. Here's what we know for sure. Charlie Kirk told people the day before he died that he feared for his life. Multiple witnesses can confirm this, including some who have it in writing. According to Joe Rogan, the official story requires you to believe that a 22-year-old with no military training disassembled a World War I rifle, fitted in a backpack, climbed onto a roof, reassembled it, and made a perfect shot. Gun experts like Joe Rogan say that's basically impossible. Candace Owens, who knew Charlie personally, has lost faith in the entire political system because of how this was handled. She believes powerful people wanted Charlie dead, and Joe Rogan thinks the whole narrative is designed to confuse people, so they give up trying to find the truth. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think this was just a lone gunman, or is there way more to this story? What do you make of Candace's claim that Charlie knew he was going to be killed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.